Japan's New Year is off to a rough start. On day one, it was struck by massive earthquakes, and it was still reeling from that when on day two, a passenger plane burst into flames. Take a look at this. There were 379 people on board, 367 passengers and 12 crew members. They had a miraculous escape. The plane belongs to Japan Airlines. It was completely gutted. Thankfully, none of the passengers was hurt. All of them got out safely. But how did this plane catch fire? Apparently, it collided with a small coastguard plane. This plane, the coastguard plane, had 6 crew members on board. 5 of them have died. 1 has survived. He was the captain of the plane. And this plane was engaged in earthquake relief operations. Like I said, the new year began with earthquakes for Japan. Not 1 or 2, but more than 150. That's right, since yesterday, Japan has been hit by more than 150 earthquakes. You could feel and see the ground shake. The pictures are quite dramatic.
Yabai. Oh! Wow, yabai.
The damage is extensive, but it could have been far worse. Last year, Syria and Turkey suffered a devastating earthquake. The magnitude was 7.8. More than 23,000 people died. Japan's earthquake was just as severe, measuring 7.6 on the Richter scale. Homes have collapsed, roads have caved. It was so powerful that even cars on the roads were shaking.
Yeah. 本当だ。こんな車が揺れてんの初めて。
7.6 is a very powerful earthquake, and Japan was able to minimize the damage. The death toll so far is 48. There was a tsunami warning yesterday. Today it has been lifted. But search and rescue is still on, and rescue workers are facing challenges, especially in the Ishikawa prefecture. This is in North Japan, one of the worst affected areas. Roads are damaged or blocked by rubble. The quake triggered landslides. There are reports of some fire too, and all of this has slowed down the rescue work.
We have been making all efforts to gather information since yesterday evening, but the blockage of roads means it is extremely difficult to access the northern part of the Noto Peninsula.
Japan is pouring all of its resources into the rescue efforts. Thousands of army personnel, firefighters and police officers have been dispatched to the north. As of this afternoon, 120 people still needed to be rescued. They were waiting for help.
At the moment, we have confirmed there are 120 cases of people are waiting to be rescued. We also have reports on evacuation. As of 11 a.m. today, we have confirmed that there are a total of 955 evacuation centers in Ishikawa Prefecture and Niigata Prefecture. A total of 57,360 people have evacuated.
It's a race against time, and the crisis is not over yet. Japan is expecting more aftershocks. They're likely to continue through this week.
From past examples, the likelihood that similar earthquakes will occur following a large earthquake is 10 or 20%. Therefore, please be cautious of earthquakes up to Shindo 7 in areas where powerful tremors took place for up to a week following the January 1 earthquake.
Japan can make such assessments confidently because it prepares for natural disasters. Japan takes crisis management very seriously. Every year, Japan's Prime Minister takes part in a drill, the Prime Minister. This is a crisis simulation of sorts. All his ministers join this exercise. On the day of the drill, they gather at an assembly point and conduct dry runs of crisis meetings. The drills are followed by a press conference. The Prime Minister delivers an address. He updates everyone on the preparations, and this happens every year on the 1st of September. That's when Japan observes the National Disaster Preparedness Day. This date is a grim reminder, the 1st of September. It reminds them of the great Kanto earthquake of 1923, one of the deadliest quakes to hit Japan. It killed more than 100,000 people and destroyed 370,000 homes. 370,000 homes were destroyed, 1923. Since then, Japan has taken earthquakes very seriously, and for good reason. This country is particularly vulnerable to earthquakes. It sits on Earth's fault lines. It experiences some of the world's most intense quakes. In the last 10 years, Japan has suffered 20% of the world's strongest earthquakes, and it has managed to survive all of them. How did they do it? How did Japan ace disaster preparedness? By deploying a multifaceted approach. Strict building codes are a big part of it. Architects have to design disaster-proof buildings. It is mandated by the law and enforced rigorously. If there's a defect in a building, the architect can be held liable for up to 10 years. That's how tough the building regulations are. People live in a constant state of readiness. Many households keep a basic survival kit at home. It includes bottled water, dry rations, a first aid kit, torches, even a radio to receive emergency broadcasts. Japan is always prepared for an earthquake because there's always the risk of one. Tokyo in particular is among the most vulnerable. The Japanese government conducted a study recently. It found that in the next 3 decades, Tokyo could suffer a powerful earthquake, the kind that we saw this week, and it will cause extensive damage. The experts also gave an estimate. The losses will be around 95 trillion yen. That's more than 650 billion US dollars. That is the estimated loss. So Japan has no option but to stay prepared. And that can be said for a lot of countries. They sit on seismic fault lines. They are at risk of suffering major quakes, but few take disaster management as seriously as the Japanese do. So let these dramatic visuals from Japan also serve as a lesson and a reminder that by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.